Good day, everyone. This is Jennifer A. Whitaker, author of multiple books, business owner, books and more by Jennifer A. Whitaker, locally well known, as well as in some cases known overseas, as I've seen that some of my books have sold in Australia and other places that are not local to the Houston, Texas area. I'm here today to talk to you about possibly going on 17 Live. I want to know your opinion. For those of you who have supported me, read my books, whether you read it for free on the Amazon Unlimited Kindle edition or you have bought a copy, I would like to thank all of you, but I'd like to also ask your opinion. What would you think about seeing me on 17 Live? Would you like to subscribe? If I went on there, would you be interested? What would you like to hear me talk about? For those who have read my books or have followed me on social media, you may already know that I have background in accounting with a Master's of Science in Accounting, Bachelor's of Science in Accounting, 6 national recognitions for being in the top 3% of the nation for various reasons. Some were for leadership, others were for entrepreneurship. One was even for being the youngest successful entrepreneur in the country at the time, and I was 26 at that point. I have multiple years of experience, maybe you know, as 20 something years of tutoring, uh, writing books. Some of you may know that my first book, called Emotional Roller Coaster Young Adulthood, was about poetry. It's a collection of poetry, but I wrote it from age 16 to 22, later publishing it when I became 23 or 24. It was about a year or so later when I discovered how to do such a thing. It was in that point in time, it was not easy and convenient to find like it is now, where you can self-publish. But for those of you who are desiring or inspiring entrepreneurs, I'm also a business consultant. I help small businesses that are already established or um, inspiring entrepreneurs who don't even know where to start and how to open a business, but they know what they want. I have experience writing books for other people. Generally, I have a contract where they agree for me to be listed as a co-author or as an editor or some other form of acknowledgement. But otherwise, it's just like any other writer where I can write behind the scene or I can even write for you, but just to somehow acknowledge that I was involved. With all my years of having 5 professions, basically, I have also been struggling for years with disabilities. I don't really remember this, but I know my mom told me my epilepsy, which was one of the worst 30 cases in the country of epilepsy back in February of 2020, was diagnosed when I was 10 months old. It was a result of the DTP shot that we all have to get as babies, or at least my generation did, if it has not changed in the recent years, through different results like mine of it causing different conditions. That said, I have always been disabled, but I've also achieved high levels of success in my 5 professions. And my other areas of disability, which some of you may know that I write about, like if you've read my book called Dealing with Autism, that one was based on the fact that I have high function autism, also known as Asperger's to some people, that I wasn't diagnosed with until I was 26. Whereas I started battling with mental illnesses such as PTSD, bipolar, anxiety, and many others while I was in high school. Various reasons caused. One is some of them, like the paranoia and general anxiety disorder, were caused by a head trauma. And the head trauma was from having an epileptic seizure on the stairs. So when I naturally fall within my seizures, they always make me fall. Then being on the stairs, I tumbled down and busted my skull. And the brain damage is what caused the paranoia and generalized anxiety disorder. However, my bipolar was later changed to be PTSD. So I have knowledge about both because of what I experienced when they thought that it's bipolar, and then what they realized later on when a therapist corrected the diagnosis, saying, "No, you look at all this you went through in high school, all these traumas, and yes, you have high and low moods like depression, mania. There's similarly the PTSD called fight and flight. But at the same time, the difference is that PTSD is onset by multiple traumas. You have to have at least 4 traumas in order to have PTSD. Whereas, as she told me, bipolar is a chemical imbalance in the brain that you can be born with or you develop over time, but it's not caused by different events in life. That said, I have knowledge about what we perceived that could have even been the lack of awareness in the early 90s of the being PTSD. That might be later on discovery in medicine. As many of y'all know, that medicine has been discovering more and more, and we've become more conscientious of our health. And a lot of us are healthier eaters nowadays than there were when you go back 10 or 20 years ago, or even 30 years ago when I was a kid. That said, for those of you who have not followed me, I am a very open person with my various battles and struggles, and with the intentions of helping those of you who may be facing similar battles, or maybe you know somebody who faces similar battles, but you don't necessarily know how to help them, or maybe you want to get along with them and you want to help them, but you also want to first start with understanding them. I'm locally known as a former owner of Ace My Course Tutoring that was around for 10 years before the pandemic led to its closure. We lost 100% of our revenue as a result of the pandemic in February 2020. Um, However, shortly before the pandemic hit, I had already founded Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, which is where you can find all my books I have written, and any kind of art that I do, you can also find there. Uh, I'm just a very open person. I like to talk to you through my videos or through books I write in my areas of expertise, in addition to in the areas I struggle. And, not to be punny or anything, but just I'm an open book. I'm not just a book that you can open. I'm already open, and I write those books that you can open, that's voicing all the things that you can spend hours listening to me say on this video or any other video. If you would subscribe to our YouTube channel, Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, do a search for us, then you can see other videos I've done, and you will see other videos I do in the future. But I'm just very open about anything from my professions, my expertise, to my struggles, to just even things that I read and research. Because as I do different writing projects for different people, often I have to research different topics. So I'm constantly learning. And even when I'm not learning from those things, I'm learning from continuing education courses I take to try to stay up to date with the latest in my field, or to achieve goals of, one goal is to study Swift, which is a coding language for Apple to make Apple apps. And my goal with that is to eventually make it convenient for all of y'all to find my website, YouTube, and everything else in the search on your Google apps, your Google store, or maybe you have an Apple store, whatever. The first step, we're starting with making the app for the store in Swift language, which means it'll only be available up to Apple devices. So if you have any ideas of any kind of books you want me to write, post on the blog, or social media things you want me to share, videos you want me to make, I want to hear from you. I want to be your resource, even though I may not be live in person. I want to be your resource for tutoring, books that are educational in whatever topic you need that I may know, writing or editing for those of you who may be trying to write a book, or you already have and you're not sure where to go from it to finish it, or you just want to edit it. I want to be your go-to resource if you are an inspiring entrepreneur or you're a current entrepreneur and you want guidance to achieve the next step, or even possibly to know what is the next step based on what's your goal. I'm here for all kinds of people. Even with my 2 degrees in accounting, I can be there for you in the financial management, financial advising, not necessarily with investments, but like in managing the expenses and budgeting, things related to accounting, or even the keeping your books part. And right now, I'm telling you all this stuff, but I want to know from you, what would you think if I went on 17 Live? I'm thinking about talking about all these various things I've shared with you. They're different topics, things I know, things I go through, and making different podcasts or video shows that are recordings where you can hear me talk about different ones of these topics on different episodes that will have a regular schedule of which one is at what time each week. What's your opinion? Would you watch me there? Do you know anybody you would refer there, or anybody who's already on 17 Live and would like to subscribe? Please send me your vote. Put a comment on this video below and tell me what you think. Would you subscribe? What would you like to hear if any of the topics, or not all of them? Then which one would you vote to be the main topic? I'm going to take all of your votes, put them together, and then from there make a plan of what I'm going to do on 17 Live as a podcast, video streaming um, leader, I guess host. As you can tell, even I hesitate, but we all have our struggles. So whatever is yours, I want to be there for you as long as it's something I know. So if there's something you even see in the fact that maybe you've looked me up and realized that I got my 2 college degrees at Liberty University, which is a very hardcore Southern Baptist college. So maybe those of you who don't know Christ, you want me to tell you about him? Go for it. Send it over. If you haven't looked me up yet, you may know that I already have a book about it called How to Know God is Real. It's going to be a series, and only volume 1 is released. But I will also continue working on volume 2 that is underway. I have 8 books underway. 8 that once I finish, you will have available. One of them is pending, or actually 2 of them are pending finding a graphic designer. So if you know anybody, I'd love to hear from him or her. And that way they can help by doing the graphic designing to help get this book launched via writing the book cover and then uploading it for me. And then it'll be available to you to read. At the same time, I have a project underway with another company that is using a professional voice artist, making right now How to Know God is Real into an audiobook. Once it is finished being produced, it will be available on Audible and a lot of other audiobook streaming or audiobook purchasing apps. A lot of y'all know Audible because it's by Amazon. But for those of you who don't use it, don't worry. It's going to be on plenty of other audiobook streaming devices or Audible book listening and purchasing places. The plans are for all of the books to become audiobooks to be on Audible and other audiobook stores or apps, as you may say. I'm hoping to hear from many of you and to know what you would like to hear. For those of you who have not heard yet, in February of 2020, I was recognized as best tutor in Greater Houston. That has over 7 million people in its total population of the metro area. And the latest news on that is, so that was probably the only good thing that happened in February 2020, because it happened the same week the pandemic struck. But since then, and after shutting down ASMA course, I switched over to doing business consulting, writing, and editing services for other people, or also called business advising. And this month, January of 2022, I was recognized as best writer/business consultant in Greater Houston, that then again has a population of over 7 million at the present time. So I'm not just a leader in writing. With my National Scholar recognition, I got at age 18 for being one of the top writers, scholarly writers at age 18. I'm also now locally known and recognized with an award for being locally the best in the metro area. In that's 3 of my fields of profession. That's on top of my 6 national recognitions for being the top 3% of the nation that I've got over the years. So I'm a great resource for all this, that I'm not just an expert in it. I am one of the top in the country, and depending upon which field, even the top in a population of over 7 million in this field. So I'm a leader. I'm not just somebody that just got started. I'm not somebody who maybe has been doing it for years but hasn't been that great. I'm definitely a leader, and I'm definitely very strong in these various fields. And you are the people I want to help. You, right there. You. I want to help everyone here. Anyone who sees this, I welcome your feedback. I want to hear from you. What would you like me to do on 17 Live? What topics? What times? What days of the week? I want to work with you and make it convenient so that you can hear from me what you want to hear on a schedule that is convenient for the majority of you. So if everybody will put forth their votes, then, and it can't be more than one thing that you vote for, then I'm going to take the big picture, see how many of you vote for what, and go by the majority. And that's not to say they'd be only limited to one topic. That's not to say be only limited to one time. But I need to hear from everybody so I can put together, even if I say do all 5 topics and at 3 different times each for each. I need to hear from you, everybody, in order to put this together so that every one of you can have some opportunity to hear what I say. They're going to be series. So these we may even release on stuff like Google Podcasts and all, but these will be recordings in a series where I build one episode on the other. But once I've built to the final conclusion of a series, the next one will start a new series. So there'll eventually be a collection of multiple series the longer I work on these. But this doesn't start until I hear from you. I'm going to wait for a few weeks, and I'm going to see what you say. I'm counting on you. And for all of those who have ever bought my books, received services through Ace My Course or Books and More by Jennifer A. Whitaker, I want to give you a thank you. You are the reason we do what we do. And there's a we, because there's more to my company than just me. We're a team. But part of the team to this company delivering our goal, what we want to do to help you, is your support. Whether all you do is listen to this live stream, or you buy a book, or just read it for free on the Amazon Unlimited edition, you are supporting us in our goal, and we want to thank all of you, whichever way you support us, whichever way you are involved, whatever you do. Every one of you is greatly appreciated, greatly loved, and we are all a team in achieving this goal, making one another better. And thank you. Be blessed.